Wonderful. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our spring equinox jubilee at LifeGrove. I'm A. Rose Mapstone. I'm so excited to be here and to hold a sacred space for you and with you. And today we have a very special guest who is also a dear new friend of mine, Ja-Vair, who is a wonderful energy worker. And I've had experience with this on a very grounding, intimate level, or as grounding as we could, do across the pond, if you will, via Zoom. But he's here to talk to us more about some grounding techniques and balancing metaphysical with physical harmony, which I think is very key for this equinox energy, because it's balancing the light and the dark, the exoteric and the esoteric. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say, Ja-Vair. Feel free to unmute and let us know what you're all about.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here today. I am happy to be in this beautiful meeting of yours. And the Jubilee, the Spring Equinox Jubilee, is an awesome time to be grounding and become one with nature and to be balanced with this planet as it goes through its delightful phases. So I'm coming from Peru in the middle of the Amazon jungle. You might hear a few birds or all kinds of creatures going by me.
We're here for it.
But other than that, I've been practicing and studying for most of my life. And now this is where I'm at in this journey. You got any questions?
Yes, of course. So to talk about balancing harmony of the metaphysical and the physical, how has your energy work practice developed, and how has it helped you ground? Because I think sometimes we might struggle to exist in the physical realm where, illness and dis-ease exist, but you tackle it in a very direct, energetic way. And so I'd love to hear you describe specifically the kind of session that you did for me, because I think it was very helpful and very life-changing.
Not a problem. So when I'm working on a person, regardless of them being right next to me in the physical form, or if I'm projecting myself in the etheric, I see the person as an energy network. As they're laying down, I look at the energy. To me, it looks like a cardiovascular system with a light blue color running through the body. Yes, you have your meridian lines, but you also have these mini tiny little vessels where energy flows. And it's not like a traditional one where it runs back to the center. It usually runs one way. It goes down to your feet or up to your head and then cycles back around through the auric field, comes back in. Now, when I'm grounding someone to help with them, unlike typical or regular teachings when it comes to Reiki or any form of healing, you always have the push hand and you have the pull hand. The push is usually the dominant and the recessive hand is the pull. And you usually take that energy into yourself and then find a way to get rid of it. Either burping, yawning, stretching, whatever the case may be. There's been many options. But when I first came into this, I realized if I'm taking all this negative energy out of a person and into myself to get rid of it, well, I'm bringing that on to me. Even if I have a really good channel for it, I'm really protected, there is always going to be just a little bit that's left behind that the healer would have to take care of. And that's been a major fault with healers, is they will get rid of as much as they can, but over time it builds up in the body and will cause healers to have issues. So I did some research. I did a lot of meditation to figure this out. And then I figured out, why am I pulling the energy from the body when this body is so beautifully designed that I can just tap into the natural energy system of the body and then have it ground itself through its natural channels. And when I say ground itself, you can ground through the palms of your hands, the soles of your feet, or the top of your head. This is where the energy will leave the body. So when I'm working on you, at first off, I will send this beautiful little blue electric gel in the etheric form into the actual energy networks of the body, run it through the whole thing. And if there's anything in there, like grime or built up energy that's just kind of stuck to the sides of the walls, this stuff acts like a good Dawn soap. It goes in there, it breaks everything loose and oils it all up so it can flow out smoothly. So then I will push it out and it'll come out the soles of your feet. When I usually am working, and if I'm working on the upper half of the body, it'll come out the soles or the palms of your hands. Now, I can either ground this straight into the energy channels that run just underneath the surface of the earth, which I'll be talking about more later, or I can collect it and put it in these little orbs as it comes out of the body, and then put these orbs down into the energy channel itself, where it dissolves and becomes one with it as it's transmuted, as it continues to flow along wherever it needs to go. So I will do that with, I'll start off with your legs, and I'll do your arms. That way everything is flushed and cleaned. And at that point, I will start working on the main part of the body, because, well, all this energy, all this I'm going to be digging up, it's got to run out somewhere. So you want to make sure the channels where it's going to be running out is clean and smooth. That way, nothing will get stuck. It won't get clogged as you're trying to push through the other dirt. It's just a straight slip and slide right out of the body. What else?
I love that. And yeah, when I experienced that, it was very different from Reiki in that way. There was a lot of flow. I mean, you know, Reiki is flow, but I felt that, like, would you say a mud slip and slide? Is that what you called it?
Yeah, in a sense, it's like a slip and slide for all the things that the body doesn't need in the energy channels. It's all, after you put the Dawn soap in the sense, it lubricates everything up and it just slides right out.
I really enjoy how tangible that is, because a lot of people don't really know how to describe the energy work that they do, which is totally fine. You know, it's more of an intuitive thing. But you seem to have a really good gauge on how energy is similar to physical things that are actually very mundane, like Dawn soap, very common. And that's why I love what you do, because it's so physical and visceral, but also so meta and like beyond. But it's also innately part of everything, like you said. It's wonderful that you honor the body's natural process of transmuting. And so would you say that you work with like the transmuting energies or the flowing energies of Earth, and like maybe Pachamama, if you're familiar with her energy at all?
I do work with the energies of the earth, but each body is different. I've noticed each body has their own element. So yes, earth is good. I use it a lot. I use water and electricity the most because it's almost universal amongst all the elements. When you have, for instance, the hardest one I could work on would be the fire element of the body, and they're usually really hot. They're go-getters, and they're always just hot. It seems like they have this burning fire within them. Well, if I'm going to introduce this gel with electricity, it's going to kind of snuff it out a bit. So what I found to do is I found a way to turn this gel into almost a steam, a little bit of a fire steam inside of it. There's little bits of flame as it's going through, but it acts just like the gel because the flame is surrounded by a bubble, and this bubble wall is made up of the gel. That way, when it goes into the body, it doesn't quench their natural fire. It just adapts to it and becomes one with it as it cleans the body. The electricity is a standard. It'll work with anyone. Even if they're water element, it'll flow perfectly through them without harming them.
That's beautiful. I love the harmony that's there. And I like how you can notice the energy so that you know what to balance it with. I find that in my Reiki practice, I do that with like cold energy and hot energy, similar to what you said. But you have these specific elements that coincide with the energy essence. I just love that. That's wonderful. Pertaining to the equinox and that sense of balance, I think the balance of elements is really perfect and important to talk about. But I'd love to hear more about your grounding technique and how that might help us as the seasons change.
So part of this of mine, wherever I walk, I take this walking staff with me, and I, in a sense, ground to the network that is just below the surface wherever I walk. because I'm in balance and making sure channels are clean, or if they need a little boost or need a new pathway to run, I balance them. And in the process of this, it's allowed me to really understand this unique network of energy that runs underneath the surface of the earth. So with this knowledge, when I ground someone, when I'm going to be working on them, or when I ground myself, I sit on the ground, or you can be on a 3rd-story apartment. I've looked into this, and you could be on a 3rd-story apartment, and everyone's been taught this, have the roots go out of your foot down to the center of the earth. First off, there's no need to go to the center of the earth. There's this energy pathway that's just underneath. It's just these massive rivers and little streams all the way down to the size of your pinky. These little veins running through everywhere. Now, when you want to ground, sit in your normal posture. You could even be sitting cross-legged. Just imagine the roots coming down from you. If you're sitting cross-legged, it can still run out the soles of your feet. It may not be perfectly straight down. Have you looked at a root network? It kind of goes everywhere. So just envision this. And you want to be kind to your neighbor if he's just below you. You don't want to send these roots through his ceiling. Just simply instruct them to go through the walls. It's just that simple. You just have to have that intention that, hey, I don't want to send this down through the neighbor because I'm trying to ground here, not pick up on his energy. So let's go down through the walls, and it'll bypass all the electronics, the plumbing and everything. It's just a regular root system. It'll go down through all that. And when it goes down into the earth, it will naturally find these channels, as long as you don't say, go to the center of the earth. These channels reside everywhere. Sure, they may not be the cleanest out there, depending on where you're at, but with the highest good and intention you have, all you're doing is putting energy into this to balance you out. Once you have this balance, because the energy as it's flowing through the earth has a certain frequency, has a certain vibration, even if it's carrying out a lot of dirt, and it will still have the same frequency. It's just a really dirty river. But the energy is still there, even if it's only little pieces running through it. And at that point, you just connect to it. It's usually, you'll find the smaller ones are just right on the surface of the soil. The deeper ones, big ones, the rivers, they can be up to about 40 feet down. But for the most part, you really ain't gonna need to connect to a bigger one. Just connect to a small one. That'll be easy for you. Even if you're having a hard time visualizing it, just imagine a glowing golden river or a glowing golden creek just below the surface. That's all you got to think about. And your roots, they're intelligent enough. They will find their way to it. Just like when you say ground to the center of the earth, the core of the earth, it's going to go there because that's where you want it to go. You just have to have the intention for it.
Oh, I love how you describe everything. Thank you for all of this wisdom. I have a couple questions actually to spur off that. Hopefully I don't lose track of them. I like how you describe this as so accessible. Like you said, you don't have to go to the core of the earth, although if you have that intention, then that's where they'll go. I love this idea that there is this innate intelligence, which I totally agree with because I have felt it. But I've also been very much more aware of my grounding practice lately. And I know that some people are very much into the science of it and will use like grounding mats, for example, when it's too cold and they can't go outside and walk barefoot. Do you think that those are important? Or do you think that, like you said, because it sounds like your tactic, you can do it no matter how the weather is. You just draw the energy to you with intention. It doesn't necessarily have to be through a grounding mat or like the kind of technology that channels that.
Well, I'm not going to knock the grounding mat too much. It is a good design, and I made one myself when I first learned about it. Went to Home Depot, spent $30, built one.
Nice.
And it doesn't or anything. It just ran through some speaker cord out my window and then a grounding rod I pounded into the soil, and it was a metal screen you'd find for windows. A little bit of duct tape, or you can get what is called duct tape, which is tape for air systems inside of buildings or mass airflow systems. And it's a metal tape that'll stick to the sides. that just helps to make sure that you don't stretch it in one direction or get poked by it or something. But $30, got a fuse on the cord, standard inline fuse you get at a auto parts store for cars, and that way, in case lightning strikes, you don't get electrocuted.
Oh, good. Good. That is very smart. Very smart.
More of a natural way, even in wintertime, and it depends on your location, but you can find these trees just about everywhere, other than the plains. And I do apologize for the plains. But you can find pine trees, conifer trees that are alive in the wintertime, the trees that don't lose their needles. And I might be wrong on the conifer name. But if you find a tree that doesn't lose its needles, or a bush for that matter, that doesn't lose its leaves or whatever the case may be, and is still alive in the wintertime, all you would need to do is walk up to this plant, put your bare hands on either the stalk or the stem, some way you have a connection with this plant. And just put your hands there and ask the plant with the intention, may I use you to ground myself, to balance myself? And if the plant's awake, you're going to start feeling this draw of energy in about 4 to 5 seconds. Wintertime, they're kind of they're awake, but they're like kind of just sitting on a couch staring at TV or something. they're there. You just got to ring the doorbell a few more times. So you'll feel this draw of energy running down your forearms and out the palms of your hands. This energy, it just feels, it's a drawing sensation. You just feel this draw, and it will run down through the trunk of the tree or through the branches of the bush into the soil, and it'll bring a balance to you. It'll reignite the energy that's within you. During the summertime, any plant that's alive, make sure you ask it first. You show respect to the plant because it's doing some work for you. Well, and that is about all you really need to know when it comes to that line.
That's great. I love that you describe it like, I mean, which is true. Everything that we work with, whether it's plants or other people, consent is very important when you open up that energy dialogue, because these are all living beings and we're all like, we can work together. But as you implied, like the plants might be busy or they might be sleeping, which I think is very beautiful. And I actually tested this out myself the first time you told me about it. And it was a very cold day, but I wanted to play in the snow. So I did. And I was going to ground with one of the pine trees out there. And one of them I felt was like deep sleep. And I was like, well, I'm not going to disturb him. he's, you know, in that state. But then there was a smaller one that was, from what I could tell, awake. And so I had a cute little grounding experience, and it just felt really nice. It felt almost like, you know, when you have a really valuable conversation, kind of like this, it's very grounding. It brings you to the present moment, even if there's a lot going on in the background. So I really appreciate that you describe it as just a little, you know, relationship that you're creating. That's essentially what it is.
Very true. I'm happy that you've already practiced some of these ideas. I love to get feedback from people.
Yeah, you inspired me. That session was so cool. And the things you told me, I was like, you know, I knew this, but I didn't quite feel it on my lips this way, you know, like I didn't have the exact words. And so I utilized some of your practices, and I was really grateful because they're cool. And I'm going to continue to do so, especially now that the ground is finally thawing. I assume it's very hot where you are.
I do have to make one disclaimer. Please do not do it on potted plants. Potted plants are not grounded, and you can fry them with your energy. Now, you'll see people that meditate with potted plants. That's an exchange of energy. That's a cycle. When you're grounding, that's a one connection. So that's a lot of energy going to your plant, and that could potentially fry the little guy. So please don't do it on potted plants.
That's a very important thing to mention. It's funny because I have some potted jade plants back here, and they are kind of suffering. One of my equinox activities actually is going to be to repot them with some better soil and do a little bit of Reiki. Do you think that that's a good idea?
As long as it's an exchange of energy, you're giving it the Reiki to make it better, and it's giving you energy in return. As long as it's a cycle, fine. But the direct, it's too much for it.
Yes, that makes sense. Equal energy exchange, which is like my constant mantra of lately. And again, very fitting for our equinox, because that's the equal exchange of dark and light energies, right? Moving through us. I love that so much. Wonderful.
One other thing
Yeah.
for grounding, now that I'm thinking about it, when you're connecting to these energy networks with underneath the soil, put the intention to connect it to an energy well or magma well, or mana well is how the old names formed. These wells are vortexes of energy all over this planet. You have big ones, like you got the House of Mystery in Oregon. It's a big, but there's little ones all over. And when the Earth goes through a raise in vibration or a frequency change, those are the first things to get the energy. So when you ground, ask it to go to those wells. It'll go down to the energy channel and then flow up the energy channel to connect to the well. And it may take a few seconds to get there, depending on how far away one is. So just let people know, if you want to balance yourself with the equinox, do the grounding method I talked about, and then send that directional intention to go connect to one of those wells.
That's gorgeous. Is that something that we're going to be doing today? I know you mentioned you had a special technique you wanted to share with us, and we have plenty of time for it if you'd like to jump into that.
Well, I could walk you through the grounding method. That'll go quick because I've explained just about most of it. I don't know if there's anything else I really need to say about it. But I can walk through that. The other method I have is called the marble technique. And this method is designed and created by me. I don't know, trademark there somewhere, right? Basically, this method will connect your physical nervous system with your energetic nervous system in the palm of your hand. So you become more aware and can feel more with your hands, your own energies and energies around you.
Let's do that. I mean, that's the one that I wrote down, is the marble technique. And I think that is really fitting. As I said, balancing the metaphysical and the physical is exactly what we need. So if you're ready, I would love to participate in that.
Sure. I gotta ask, do you hear the rain on your side?
It's raining where you are?
Yep, it started raining about halfway through.
Wow, no, I didn't actually hear it. So that's kind of amazing. But that's also very ASMR, very soothing sound anyway. Are you moving, or are you staying out there?
Sitting underneath all the bamboo, so I'm mostly covered. I'm fine. I just wanted to know if you guys could hear it.
I mean, I hear something. I hear like a sizzling sound, so maybe that's it. But it's only when you talk, so that's interesting.
All right, so let's get to the old marble technique. First off, because we're doing this, let's just ground ourselves, make sure we're well situated into the energies of the earth. And that's easy enough to do. Sit in your whatever posture you want to be in. Now you're going to visualize these little, you can have white roots or dark roots, depending on your base energy. Don't be afraid if they're dark. It's fine. Now you're going to see these roots coming out the soles of your feet. And it's just going to look just standard little roots kind of spiking out, like you'd see a carrot coming out. Now with this, you're going to send it down with the intention, hey, I need to connect to one of these energy light rivers that are just right underneath the earth, and give it that direction. Okay, this is what I want to connect to, and send it. And it usually takes just a mere moments, and then you'll feel a twinge, almost an electricity, that it kind of pops back for confirmation, or just a drawing sensation running out your foot. depending on how sensitive you are. Now that you're connected, we're going to send this little guy with the next level of intention. I want you to connect to the energy vortex or mana wells in my area. You only need one. You don't need multiple. It's not going to do you any better to have connection to all of them. And then you send that intention to your roots. This is what I want to connect to. Find it. Within moments, it'll find it. And you'll get another sensation, almost like a building of energy within your foot at this point. And if you're sensitive, you'll get kind of a stronger electric shock, but nothing painful, of course. It's just confirmation. All right, now that we're all grounded and connected, see how simple that was, guys? We all have this ability. We all have this knowledge. We just need to remember how to do it again. All right, put out your dominant hand, whichever one is, your right or left. That looks like a right hand. All right, so put a palm up, please. Palm up, just sitting in your hand. You got to be able to look at it. There you go. All right, so you're going to visualize a marble. It can just be a standard clear marble or a little white smoky one. Don't get too fancy with it because designs don't mean anything. This is just a visualization. Now, in your mind, you picture this marble as physical as you can. So you feel it in the palm of your hand, and it might help to close your eyes to do this. Now, you make it as physical. You feel the weight. And if you're not as sensitive or you're just brand new to this, you'll feel a warming sensation or a cooling sensation, depending on your energies. Once you feel that, lock it in there. You know it's there now. You can open your eyes because you know it's there. Even if you may not physically see it, your mind says there's a marble there. Now you're going to take your other hand, and you're going to take what is called the fire finger. And they teach us in Reiki, it's actually your middle finger. Basically, it's their strongest energy channel runs through this finger. So they call it the fire finger, and they do a lot of things with it. Now you're going to take this finger, put it just above the marble, and you're going to start spinning it clockwise. And it is important to go the clockwise motion. You're just going to start spinning it up until the point you feel a slight breeze around it, or the warming sensation is kind of expanded outwards, but it's hotter in the center. And you'll feel this little bit of a breeze, and it doesn't take much, just getting some revolution on it. And once you've got that, you feel it. The next step is to roll it around the palm of your hand, clockwise. You just roll it around. You do it a minimum of 3 times, but you can do it as many times as you want. You want to get the feeling of this marble rolling around your hand. Don't worry about it falling off. Gravity doesn't apply. It is only what your intention says it does. Once you feel it go around a minimum of 3 times, and you can feel it, even if it's only a little bit, but you can still feel that little bit of energy rolling around the palm of your hand clockwise. That's all you really need to start off with. Now bring it back to the palm of your hand again. Now this time, it's still spinning. It hasn't stopped. You're going to roll it up your pinky to the tip of your pinky and back to the center of your hand. And you're going to do that with all the fingers. You start with the pinky, back to the palm, up the next finger and back until you get all the way over to the thumb and back to your palm. Give me a nod when you got all those. All right. So now at this point, we've got the front of the hand connected because, like I said earlier, we're connecting the etheric nervous system to the physical body's nervous system. Well, there's 2 sides to everything, right? So we're going to roll this hand over, bring the marble back to the back of your hand in the center, and stop it from spinning. All right, easy enough. Now we're going to take that same fire finger We're going to poke the back of the hand, well, just above the marble. And we're going to start rotating it counterclockwise. And it is key to be counterclockwise on the back of your hand. Until you get to the point you can feel that light breeze around it again. And then same thing as last. We are going to go and start rotating it around the back of your hand counterclockwise. You got to do it a minimum of 3 times. Once you've got that, you got a good feeling for it. Yeah, there we go. You're going to roll it back to the center and then roll it up to the point of your pinky and then back to your center and then following all the other fingers until you get to the thumb and roll it back to the center of the palm of your hand. Tell me with a nod when you are done. Now at this point, you're going to take that little beautiful marble of yours, and it doesn't matter which direction you go, but you want to roll it around your wrist 3 times, and then bring it back to the center of the palm of your hand. Once you're back in the palm of your hand, absorb the energy. Just let it kind of dissolve back into your hand. Now you're going to take both of your hands, put them straight out in front of you. There you go. They got to be facing each other. There you go. Now, there's so many different ways to call this. I've referred to it as the jellyfish method because it's easier to visualize. Basically, you take your hands, you start off shoulder width apart. You have your fingers pushed all the way out from the hands. Yes, kind of angled backwards. It'd be better if I had a video. There you go. Now you're going to push them in until they're close, maybe about a ½ inch from touching each other. And then as you go out, you bring the fingers close, almost into a cone-like shape as your hands go back out. In a sense, it's what a jellyfish does when they move. They expand. There you go, just like that. And you do this for a few times. Now, when you're doing this, you're going to feel a difference in the 2 hands. The one you just worked on will have an unusually different feeling than the other one. Even if it's only slight, it will have a difference. Now that you have that understanding, that feeling, now we're going to move to your other hand and do the same thing to that. So put out your other hand, palm up. Visualize the marble in the palm of your hand until you feel the weight or the warmth or the cool of that marble. There we go. Once you have that, take your fire finger from the other hand, place it just above the marble, and get it to spin clockwise until you get that delightful little air around it. There we go. Now, you're going to take that marble and roll it up the pinky and back to the center. Oh, no, scratch that. Oh, jumping ahead here. Apologize. We got to roll it around the palm first. So that'll be clockwise around the palm. A minimum of 3 times, please. There we go. Now we got to jump to the finger. All right, so back to the center and then up to the pinky. And back, and then following with the rest of the fingers until we get done with the thumb. There we go. All right. Now we're going to roll our hand over, bring that marble to the back of the palm of your hand, or the back of your hand. Stop that marble from spinning, and then start getting it to spin counterclockwise. And that's with your fire finger. If you need a little bit to re-visualize that marble on the back, that's perfectly fine. The back of your hand is not quite as sensitive as your palm, but it does have nervous systems there, so it can feel it. All right, once we got that little guy there and it's spinning now with the fire finger getting it to go counterclockwise, you're going to start rolling it around the back of your hand counterclockwise 3 times. All right, now we got it back at the center. Roll up to the tip of your pinky and back to the center of the back of your hand. And then continue that with each and every single little finger. All the way until you're done with the thumb. You bring it back to the center once again. Now, same thing, roll it around the wrist a minimum of 3 times. Doesn't matter which direction. This just kind of locks everything you did into the body. And palm of the hand, absorb the marble. Now, once again, the jellyfish technique. Bring out that fun little jellyfish. There you go. Now you can feel the difference. Both your hands should be aligned. There is a beauty. Some people will have a cold and a hot hand. That's perfectly fine. It's the male and female energies balancing, the yin and the yang of the body. Now that you can feel that, you feel the warmth, the beauty that this energy really is. Your hands are awakened at this point. Some people may only feel a little bit, but they will notice a difference. The more you practice, the more sensitive your hands become. And as we walk through this, and for every single person I have taught this to, I do this myself just to keep it fresh in my mind. And my hands are just terrible at this point. They're so sensitive, I can't even handle a hot pepper. They burn, they'll burn for days. So I gotta be careful with them peppers.
I can totally feel the difference. This is so wonderful. And I do Reiki. I'm a Reiki master, but I think this is going to help bolster all of my energy work. So thank you so much.
So
So
you have this, and you might practice it. It doesn't matter how many times a day you can practice this. You can do it all day, every day. The more times you do, the more sensitive your hands will become. Up until a point you just want to stop, or you just do something else with it. With this knowledge, you can now feel plants. If you're a healer, this will help unblock things. This will just make you more sensitive. A lot of things this will do for you. If you want to work on yourself, this is something I'll teach. With that same little marble, I want you to make that marble again, but this time, very loving memory into it. Something that just brings such joy. Like getting a hug from your mom on Christmas, or seeing a beautiful puppy and playing with it. Something that's of the highest of joy and love. Put this into the marble. Now project a light from the center of your hand through the marble, and it's going to act like a magnifying glass. It's a prism, and you're converting this energy into a high form of love. And if you have a bruise or something on your leg, you just put it there. You project this energy through that marble into the muscle of your leg. And just leave it there. Let the energy flow into it. You may not have the ability to see what the energy is doing or know what it's doing, but have the intention. I don't like this bruise. I want to heal this bruise. I want to bring life to the cells that are damaged. And you just hold it there. Now, like they say, if you go to church, you don't pray to God for just a matter of minutes. You're there for a half an hour or so. So the longer you work on something, the more effect it will take. So don't be shy about it. Make sure you sit there for a minimum of 10, 15 minutes of just running this thought through your mind. And yes, you'll have other thoughts that pop up, as long as you make sure this is your main thought. Or you come back to it if something distracts you. Keep it there for 15 minutes. You'll feel the warmth of your leg. The pain for the bruise will start disappearing, and the bruise itself will start vanishing. And that's a basic form of healing.
Wow.
Now, when I talk, as the palm is clockwise and the back is counterclockwise. This is with all of your chakras. The front of your body runs clockwise, the back of your body counterclockwise. So when you're awakening or cleaning out, you want to run the same direction. Unless you're a little more advanced, then you can understand the difference and vortices and be able to work with it or against it to clean a particular area. But for beginners, just stick to the same direction. You don't need to get too complicated with it. And also the back of your feet is counterclockwise and the soles is clockwise. The top of your head, it kind of runs both directions. So don't try to figure that one out too much. And you really don't want to work too much on your crown chakra. Leave that to someone that has some knowledge behind it. That's a big one. And there's a lot of things that it needs to be taken care of and taken into practice when you're working on it. So you can work on your other chakras, even your root's fine. Just try not to work too much on the crown.
So would you say then that the clockwise motion is intaking, or is that the outputting, or is it all intake?
Well, the energy does run out when it's going clockwise, that I notice, but I've also looked into it and you can see the energy running in through the center of the vortex as well, or through the back of the body.
Oh, okay.
Pushing out and pulling in at the same time, more outwards, because the main in is going to be through your root, your crown, or the soles of your feet, which you also ground with your soles. Like, how can that be if it's pulling in? Think about it. You're grounding yourself. That means you're pushing out and pulling in at the same time. And it is orgo. It comes from the bottom of your feet and out the top of your head. So it's got to go in and out of those locations.
Like little doors. I love it. Oh, well, I feel wonderful now. Thank you so much. I hope the viewers also can benefit from this, because that would be super fun to see people's feedback about it. Let us know what you think. Well, do you have any final words that you'd like to share? Also, if you are offering any of this lovely energy work at any point, let us know how people can find you.
Oh, great. Let's see here. That's one thing I didn't even prepare for. I
might have been my bad.
I have a BitChute channel at Emerald Lotus Teacher, and there's underscores in between each one of those. And there's an introductory video to who I am and a step-by-step guide on how I work on someone there. And I believe it has a connection to my Discord. If not, I'll add it to it. And then I also have a profile on your website. Don't exactly remember what name. I think it was just Ja-vair with some numbers behind it.
I'm pretty sure you're just there as Ja-vair on Haven. So if any of you watching have our app, check him out there. And if you don't have the app, download it and check it out. Yeah, because you can message him directly there, and hopefully you will be creating a circle with us soon, perhaps.
Quite possibly. We'll see what's in the works for the future.
Yeah, I'm excited to work with you and continue to learn from you more. This is just such wonderful wisdom. I feel it like coursing through me. I'm very excited. So, and we will, if you send me the links, which I think I already have, we'll put them up when this video is posted too. I'll make sure that people can reach you.